All right, Ying, let's get started. Back to you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in from your corner of the world. I'm so happy you've joined us for this event. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ying Yao. I'm a senior UX designer at Honeywell, co-organizer of Ladies at UX Atlanta, and of course, an ADP List mentor. I'm also excited to be your host for this event. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're kicking off today. So this is Genius Hours Career Success Edition. This is a series of events where design mentors come together to provide tips and insights into the how-tos and what should I do's of building and growing a successful career. This topic is near and dear to my heart because I've personally encountered and still experience a lot of complexity and questions about how to successfully navigate a design career. So I'm thankful to ADP List for creating a space for leaders and experts to join us and share their journey and insights. We have a growing list of great topics we'll be covering today and in future events, so definitely stay tuned. Topics such as how to build a strong online presence, networking effectively and creating meaningful connections, how to negotiate your salary, giving and receiving effective critique, how to partner with recruiters, and much, much more. So for today, we'll be learning how LinkedIn can help improve your personal career goals. Our speakers, Christine Yuan, Vicky Gao, and Brandon Lal, will teach you about the different products within LinkedIn and how to make the most of your career search. They will discuss how to effectively build a profile, how to use LinkedIn for networking, and how to efficiently apply for jobs. And so without further ado, Christine, Vicky, and Brandon, if you can unmute yourselves and give a short introduction, who you are, your role, what you're all about, and then we'll get started.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ying, so much for that beautiful introduction. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here to kick off the series. My name's Christine. I am a design manager at LinkedIn. I've been at the company for a little over 4 years now, but I actually didn't start off my career as a UX designer. So in my undergrad, I actually studied business and I went into consulting. I worked at Deloitte Consulting for about 5 years before I realized that UX design was even a field and that was something that I was very passionate about. So I decided to do a pivot and went back to graduate school, got my master's of interaction design at California College of the Arts in San Francisco, and then ended up as a UX designer at LinkedIn. Now I manage a team under the Pages product. So for those who aren't familiar with Pages, it's basically like a company or a school, if they created a profile on LinkedIn, we manage that product. And a little fun fact, some of these tips too are things that I used when I was a student and trying to pivot into UX design. And actually I found my job by optimizing my LinkedIn profile and having a LinkedIn recruiter reach out to me to apply. So that's how I ended up here. With that, I'll hand it over to Vicky.
Hi there, I'm Vicky, also a designer at LinkedIn. I'm right now working on LinkedIn Jobs, trying to make LinkedIn Jobs a great product to connect job seekers and hiring managers. And I've had my master in human computer interaction from Georgia Tech, and after that, I joined LinkedIn. So I've been at this company for more than 4 years too. And in terms of my job seeking, I actually also got my job at LinkedIn through LinkedIn. So I got reached out from LinkedIn recruiters on LinkedIn and then landed my job here. So I definitely love this product and because it helped me personally, and I would love to make it better to help more job seekers like you guys. And I would love to pass it to Brandon to introduce yourself.
Hi guys, so I'm Brandon, Brandon Lau. I am a associate product designer over at LinkedIn. I work on the product marketplace and pages under Christine. She's actually my manager, so please say some nice things about me in my presentation. And I actually have been at LinkedIn for just over 3 months. I just started recently. I'm a new grad. I actually graduated from Simon Fraser University over in Vancouver, Canada. And yeah, just like Vicky and just like Christine, this is really near and dear to my heart because when I was a third year, fourth year student, I I spent late nights optimizing my LinkedIn, and I was lucky enough to get a few recruiters cold call me, even though I didn't have much experience and I was just a student with just student projects and not much professional experience. I had recruiters reach out to me through LinkedIn, and I actually got my LinkedIn internship through a recruiter reaching out to me through the platform. So I know firsthand how important and how helpful the platform can be. And so hopefully we can share some tips and share some ways that LinkedIn can help you be successful in that search.
Awesome. So to kick it off, these are the 5 different areas that we want to give an overview to all of you today. Obviously, LinkedIn has a lot of different features, so we're only just scratching the surface, but we're really trying to focus on the job seeker journey or somebody who's a career pivoter, and want to give you guys advice in terms of how to break into the UX field and use your LinkedIn effectively. So we'll cover things like, your profile, how to share and post effectively to develop thought leadership, and then like gaining knowledge through the different products that we have, and then ultimately networking and job seeking. So to start off, I just want to give everyone an overview of what LinkedIn is. I'm sure all of you have profiles or have at least heard of the tool, but for those that might not have that much familiarity with it, LinkedIn is the world's largest professional social network that really helps focus on building people's careers out. In terms of LinkedIn, we are global as a platform. It's available in 24 different languages and is used in over 200 different countries worldwide. We have over 2 new members join every second and 5 million updates posted per minute globally. So there's a lot of data that's being shared out there. And our company, our mission at LinkedIn is really to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. So what that means is that everything that we do in terms of the product, the designs that we build out and everything, we're really emphasized on trying to help people find that next opportunity in their careers so that they can be successful. Now, with that being said, LinkedIn, we have a lot of different data points out there, and all these different things form something called the economic graph. And you guys might be kind of curious to understand, well, how does this matter to me? Well, the economic graph, basically, by using data from understanding who's on the platform, what companies, jobs, skills, schools, and knowledge, it really helps us as a company map what are some job and industry trends out there and how to make products more effective for people like you and me who might be using it to find our next career opportunities. What's really interesting about all of this too is that when we map these data points, we use it to influence the product, but also we work with certain organizations like the World Bank and actually help identify industry trends in like developing countries or sectors to make things more effective. We actually have a team of economists within LinkedIn who are trying to identify these trends on a regular basis. So with that being said, all of these things kind of tie into our mission. So ultimately, our goal as a company is to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful in their jobs and also in finding their next career paths. So with that, hopefully that was a good insight for some of you to better understand what LinkedIn's all about. And that will kind of set the context for like what we're going to talk about more today. So first of all, I wanted to share more about the profile and how your story can be represented in a way on LinkedIn to effectively tell what kind of career goals that you are trying to achieve. So I want to start off with a statistic. LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. Around 93% of recruiters use LinkedIn on a regular basis to vet candidates before they even interview. So a lot of the time I talk to people that I'm mentoring, they're like, oh, should I spend a lot of time on my resume? I feel like resumes are starting to become a little outdated, and a lot of recruiters tend to use LinkedIn more because of that social aspect. They can message people, find information very quickly. So I think it's very important to actually optimize your LinkedIn more and more, especially in this digital age. Now, when it comes to a LinkedIn profile, there's obviously a lot of different things that you can do on your LinkedIn profile to represent yourself. But the best LinkedIn profiles have the most current information about yourself and are well thought out and complete. And I'll walk through all these different pieces to explain to you how you can make it more effective. So the first thing in your LinkedIn profile is your top card. What's really important about this is that your top card is what pulls up in searches, and it's also the first thing that people see. So just like if you were in an elevator with somebody and met them for the first time, there is an elevator pitch too with your top card. It takes about 10 seconds to make that first impression. So that's why it's really important to lay out who you're about. So there's certain things that you can do. You should customize your background. If you, do a podcast or you're really into illustrations, that could be a really great way to showcase some of your work there. Also, your headline in terms of the space around like what you're up to, I think that's a really great way to designate what you want to be known for. You don't need to limit yourself to one dimension. You don't need to just be a UX designer. You can be a UX designer and a mentor or like a teacher or something else like that, and just make that a really valuable, unique value proposition on yourself. The other thing about the top card is that it's really important to actually fill out a location. People with accurate locations show up 23 times more in search results for recruiters. The second aspect is the profile photo. So profiles with photos actually get a lot more engagement. They end up turning up with 21 times more views, 9 times more connection requests, and 36 times more messages. So it's actually really important to represent yourself. When you think about a photo on LinkedIn, it is slightly different than other social media platforms. So you want to pick something that represents yourself professionally, but it doesn't have to be you in a suit. So you can make it fun, especially since we're all designers or trying to break into that field. You can think about something that fits your personality, that represents yourself. Ideally, it's something that's forward focused, and then you smiling with good lighting is really great. But if you don't have like a professional photo that you want to use, we also have built-in photo editing capabilities that you can tweak as well when you upload. The next thing that's really important is actually to update your contact information. I'm a hiring manager at LinkedIn too, so I do look at people's portfolios and their LinkedIn profiles. And surprisingly, a lot of the time, I actually can't find people's portfolios in their contact information. So it's really important to keep that updated in your top card. And you can add a bunch of different things around your contact information, your email, other social media sites. If you have blogs, different types of things, you can represent that in your contact information. But it does help to have that so that hiring managers and recruiters can access that very quickly. The next section in your profile is your About section. So this is actually pretty important because this kind of represents your overall elevator pitch before the hiring manager or recruiter gets to your experience. So I think what's really important is as you're writing this, you want to articulate your strengths, both in soft skills and hard skills that are unique for the job that you're trying to go for. The other thing is optimizing in terms of readability. So you don't want to make it too short to the point where I don't get anything out of it if I'm reading it as a hiring manager, but you also don't want to keep it too dense. So I usually would recommend somewhere around like 40 words to kind of make that easier. You can also use like word blocking and bullet pointing to make it more comprehensive as well. The other thing that's really unique for us as designers, we have a lot of like visual assets. So you should definitely take advantage of the featured section. In the featured section, you can put a bunch of different things: photos, videos, presentations, articles that you've written, and even more. This is a really great way to showcase your work and your personal brand in a visual way that people can click and engage and learn more about yourself. The other thing about a profile that sometimes people aren't aware about is that there's actually visibility settings. So setting up your profile, you want to be found. So there's different things that you can do to control your public profile visibility so that search engines like Google can find you, and that people who are logged out or who don't have LinkedIn can still access your profile and find it if they're looking that up. So you would basically go into your profile and click on the edit public profile and URL. And from there, you're able to customize your visibility settings, what you want to be represented on your LinkedIn profile for search engines. And then you can also customize your URL for your LinkedIn profile. Sometimes I do see on like resumes or like portfolios, people don't customize the URL and it's really lengthy or hard to remember. So I'd highly recommend you customizing that so it's easier to share. The next thing on your profile is your experience section. So what's really important here is that you want to keep it up to date. I know that sometimes as a student, you might be doing some non-paid stuff, or internships, that's totally fine to represent as long as you feel like it's relevant for you to get your job. The other thing that's really important is when you're describing the work that you're doing, try to add some assets to it, especially if you have a portfolio piece that maps to it to bring it to life. And then when you're talking about your projects, try to add the value that you brought, metrics that maybe you're performing, things like that, that can kind of show how you're growing within the career. And then lastly, you know, if you've had multiple positions within a company, you can use the career path timeline to show how your progression is as a user. The next thing is education. So within the education, this is an area where you can talk about the degrees or courses that you've taken, whether it might be a boot camp or, you know, something that you've done elsewhere. I think as a student, it's actually more important to fill this out a little bit more to describe maybe the coursework that you're doing or linking it to your portfolio. But once you've kind of progressed in your career, you can definitely pare this down as you don't need as much information. It's more about your experience at that point. The next section is licenses and certifications. So if you have any special certifications that are required for the job that you're trying to apply for, this is a great way to showcase it. Also, if you take LinkedIn Learning courses, you can get certifications for those things as well, such as like accessibility. So you can showcase those things on your profile. The other thing is volunteer experience. So we have a stat that about 1 in 5 managers actually hired somebody because of the volunteer experience that they had. So I think this is really important if you are doing something like mentoring on ADPList, for example. Profiles with volunteer experience end up getting 6 times more views than those without as well. And I would focus on the ones that are very relevant to your career. So if you're trying to break into design, find things that are tied to that field. And then the next thing is skills. So within skills, this is actually important for you to arrange your top 3 skills that you want to be presented on your profile, because having skills is going to significantly increase your search results finding for recruiters. It increases it by 27%, 27 times. And people with 5 or more skills receive 17 times more views. So it's really important to like make sure that they're up to date for the career that you want. So emphasizing the design aspect. Then the other aspect is recommendations. So if you've worked with somebody or done an internship or have a professor that you have a good relationship with, recommendations can really help build your credibility and your skills as a designer. And then the last section is your accomplishments. So if you have projects, languages, distinctions, things like that that you want to highlight, this can be a really great way to showcase all those things on your profile as well. So with all of that, what I wanted to show you guys is that you might not see this, but this is what recruiters use at LinkedIn. So they pay for a product called LinkedIn Recruiter. And all those things that I talked about in your profile in terms of increasing search results, like, you know, findability, all that stuff, that fuels basically the LinkedIn Recruiter tool. And if you see here on the left-hand side, these are the different facets that recruiters can search for you on. So that's why it's important for you to fill out your skills, keep things up to date so that you can be shown in these results to the recruiters who are looking to fill positions. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it off to Vicky now to talk more about building thought leadership.
Cool. Thanks, Christine, for the deep dive into LinkedIn profile. And next, I would love to talk about building thought leadership. Next slide, please. Can we move to the next slide? Cool. So yeah, besides like adding everything and having all those activities show up on your profile, there's something called network effect on LinkedIn. So when you share something, when you share an article on your LinkedIn feed, or you post a comment on someone else's post, not only people of your network can see it, the network of the author of the original post can also see it. So as you can see, you know, as you share more and more, it can boost your findability, which means that more people are gonna see you, your comments or your post on LinkedIn, which, you know, help you get more opportunities from LinkedIn platform. And let's say like, instead of like silently waiting for, you know, recruiters or hiring managers to reach you, you can actually proactively share more on LinkedIn so that more people can discover you organically. Can you, next slide? And so there are actually a few ways and a few tips to, you know, and So there are actually a few ways and a few tips to, really leverage this network effect. So if you want to kind of like make your kind of get more audience for your post, you can, the easiest way, make your post public. So there is a visibility setting, and you can set it as public so that to get a bigger audience. And you can also use mention or add hashtag to your post, which can help you get more attention. And the third way is to add media like links or photos or video. They can help to make your post more visually appealing, which can also help attract more audience. So I put 2 examples that I've shared on LinkedIn before. As you can see, I really kind of used all different features like adding the hashtag and mention people who were involved in the activities I shared, and also added photos or links to my post. So all of them can help me get more views and more comments to my post, which can, help me get more attention on LinkedIn post. And the next slide. And you might wonder, like, okay, I know all these different tips to share to get more audience, but what can I share? Even especially for people who are still students, you might feel like, oh, I don't have much like industry experience. What kind of things that I can share on LinkedIn to add value? Actually, there are a lot of ways that you can get started. For example, you can share a blog post from your class, or share pictures or videos of you volunteering or participating in a workshop. Or you can post your learnings from different events or lectures or conference that you've attended, right? Even after this session, you could share a post about what you've learned from this session by, like what you can do with LinkedIn to grow your network or to build your profile. You can make it as a post to share on LinkedIn. And you can also use leveraging LinkedIn posts to ask for feedback on your project or portfolio. So one of the example I attached here. So she is actually one of my mentee that I've talked to at ADP through ADP, and she just graduated from a boot camp. And she shared a LinkedIn post, kind of like talking about what she have learned, what she's done through the boot camp, and also shared that she's open to new opportunities after graduation. And she attached her resume below, also like leverage the hashtag and mention people that help her along the way. So I think this is a really good example on what you can share and what kind of features you can use to make your post more attractive on LinkedIn. Next slide. So just re-emphasize on some of the best practices I've talked about to help sharing, to help you get more audience. First of all, make sure you share your authentic voice, and also post frequently. By sharing frequently, you actually create more opportunities for you and your content to be discovered. You can even add a reminder to your calendar to post something once a week or whatever frequency that you feel comfortable with. And also start a conversation or share your point of view. You can just like post questions or share your point of view on a certain like events happening. So they're just so that you can really like start network with the community on LinkedIn platform. And the fourth one, as I've mentioned, include rich media, just like such as video or photo, to increase engagement. And also think about the other one is really kind of think about what kind of value you can add to your professional community. So just really think about this is like a two-way communication. After you share something, people will see it and people will comment on it, and you start a conversation. So, like really just think about what kind of value you can bring to LinkedIn as a community. Next slide. Yeah. So so besides sharing different your point of view on LinkedIn, you might also, during your job seeking journey, you might also identify areas where you are interested in learn more, or you find that there are some gaps in your experiences that you want to, like really make up for. So although we develop most of our experiences in jobs, there are also other ways we can grow. And LinkedIn actually provide multiple tools for us to grow our experience besides jobs. So one of the good tool is LinkedIn Learning. Next slide. So as if you go to LinkedIn Learning, you can discover that there are a lot of different online courses you could take. And some courses also can offer certifications that you can add to your LinkedIn profile. So this is a great way for you to, gain a certain skill set you want to grow in. And another way is to follow companies. So you can stay connected to the companies that matter most to you. For example, your dream company that you hope to work at, or companies that are, are really famous in a certain industry that you want to keep, you want to follow. That you can simply search for that company page and then click the follow button, so that you can always stay up to date to all the news of the company. And another benefit is that you can browse all the jobs from that company on this page, which is a great way for you to stay updated on the latest jobs that the company are hiring for. And the third tips that we want to offer is to follow influencers and newsletters. So you can actually find a lot of influencers, like thought leaders in a certain industry, and also by following them, you are able to see their activities on your LinkedIn feed, same as newsletters. So by following their influencers or newsletters that matter to you, you can stay up to date with the latest news in a certain industry or area you are interested in. And the other one is you are able to join different groups or follow hashtags. So you can actually find all the groups you are at, or hashtag you are following on the left side of your on the left rail of on your LinkedIn page, and you can definitely follow more, or join more groups as you like. So this is a really good way for you to find the communities around a topic that interests you. So you can start post within that a certain group, or start interact with people in that group to start the conversation. So it would help you broaden your network. And in terms of network, there are also a few ways that you can use LinkedIn to develop your personal network. And next slide. So you might ask, why is networking so important? Why can't I just have a good profile and just show it up on LinkedIn? Isn't that enough? So from our data, we've seen that 89% of job seekers use networking as part of their job search. We know that relationships are valuable. It's a small world. It's not uncommon to find people that are second or third degree connections and can lead to new opportunities for you, for sure. Next slide. So building a network on LinkedIn can really help you open up more opportunities. So if you don't have many connections on LinkedIn, you can really think of people that you've met before, or people in the physical world. Think of maybe you can generate a list of people and start add them on LinkedIn to help you start build a strong network on this platform. And there are a few tips. Next slide. There are a few tips around networking. So really think about networking like you are trying to make new friends. It doesn't have to be transactional. It's just, you can even just start building relationships with people in real world, with your professors or with other students in your program, and keep in touch with those people over time. So that would be a really good start point. And then you will discover like there are more people. Maybe you can discover people, their connections, and discover like there are more people you would love to connect with by starting connecting to people in physical world. Next slide. And another way to expand your network is to attend online events. There are a lot of remote events happening on LinkedIn. And once you attend a certain remote event, you're able to leverage a live chat function where you could start conversation with other participants in the same event, so that you could engage with the speakers and other attendees. So that is also another way for you to know more people through our platform. And there's and you can also look for alumni to connect with them. So if you go to a certain company page or go to your own university, search for your university, you're able to find all the alumni who graduate from the same school. And connecting with them would be a really good start point. And especially if you just graduated from a certain school, you can connect with your alumni, and they might offer referral or some other opportunities for you when you are looking for a new job. Next slide. And yeah, and once you start kind of network with other people and you want to connect with them, the best way is to send a connection request. But instead of just like sending the request, we highly recommend to add a note when sending this invite request. So the note could include who you are, why you want to connect with this person. It's just a really good way for to kind of like remind the person you are sending to like why you are connecting or like who you are. It will definitely increase the acceptance rate by adding a personal note over there. Next slide. So it's a little bit hidden where to find that a personalized note on mobile. So I kind of like include one slide here to tell you if you send the connection request on the go on your mobile, you can actually tap more, and you will be able to find this personalized invite option in the bottom sheet once you tap more button. And in terms of some of the tips, like what to write in the note. So here are a few connection message tips. First of all, you can find common ground with that person. If you guys attended a same event before or graduate from the same school, that would be a really good thing to include in your personal note. And also get to the point by keeping it short and sweet, so that you don't have to like write an essay or like a really long paragraph. Just like down to the point, who you are, why you want to connect. Let the person know your intention behind the connection, which can really help that person to like know you better before he make a decision whether to connect or not. Next slide. Yeah, so that's pretty much a wrap on my end in terms of how to network, how to share stuff on LinkedIn. And now I would love to hand it off to Bryden to talk about look for jobs on LinkedIn.
Yeah, thank you, Vicky. So yeah, let's talk about looking for jobs. And it's admittedly a crazy time right now. It can feel kind of really difficult to try to find opportunities and to know how to go about it given this given moment. But there are a couple ways that I think you can do a few things that stand out on the platform, and a couple of tools you can use on LinkedIn to help with this search. So next slide. So just thinking about jobs on LinkedIn, it's a really great place to start. So there's 14 million open jobs on the platform, and there's 55 million companies represented on the platform. And companies will often not just post full-time jobs. There's internships, there's contract positions, and there's volunteer positions. So no matter where you are in kind of your state of your career or the stage of your career, there's an opportunity on the platform for you. Next slide. So one of the ways you can help yourself in breaking into these opportunities is with a tool on the platform we call the Open2 platform. So if you're breaking into a new field and you're looking to get new experience, sometimes a full-time job or an internship might not be the most accessible way to get that. Using Open2, you can often use your profile to let recruiters know that you're open to discussions and you're open to opportunities. You can also use it as an opportunity to let other people on the platform know that you're a freelancer that's providing work as a way to kind of build up your knowledge base and build up your experience. Next slide there. So the way the Open2 works is actually a set of settings that can make sure you're contacted for opportunities that interest you. So you can change your settings kind of as mentioned or as displayed on screen here. You can specify job titles, you can specify places or cities that you would like to work. You can kind of specify even how aggressively you're looking for work, whether it is passively or if you're actively looking. And you can even have granular controls as far as just letting other recruiters or just letting recruiters know that you're looking for opportunities. Or if you're ready to kind of take that next step, you can let the entire platform know. And that includes other members and other people that use LinkedIn know that you're looking for opportunities on the platform, and we'll even help you kind of stand out in the crowd by updating your display photo as well. And you can always change these settings later in your privacy settings. Next slide. So once you've also set this, you'll notice your top card has been updated, and you'll see this new option in the bottom left there that lets people know visiting your profile that you're open to opportunities. And again, if you chose just to show recruiters, only recruiters will see that. But if you chose to show everyone, then you'll be much more publicly visible to be open to these opportunities. Next slide. Another way you can really set yourself up for success as far as finding opportunities and being, the first to apply to these opportunities and to kind of apply to as many opportunities as possible is through job alerts. So with job alerts, you can actually know about specific roles. You can know when a certain company is hiring, or when there's job openings in a specific city, if you're looking for something locally, or if you're looking for a opening in a specific destination. And you can do this through just the general job search or search on the platform. So let's say you're interested in a UX design role for like a middle-sized company in the Bay Area. You can use these tools to highly tailor a job alert and then apply for entry-level positions using kind of easy apply through the platform. And you can save these for the future. So just because you find one maybe opening right now, you can save this, and maybe a couple weeks down the line, a couple days down the line, when more opportunities that match those criteria appear, you'll be notified for that, and you can quickly jump on those opportunities there. Another way, sorry, next slide. Another way you can set yourself up for these job alerts is by going to a specific company's page. So you can go to a company like, say, Airbnb, and go to their jobs page and set up an alert there. So whenever a new job opens up at Airbnb, or whenever, say, a design job opens up at Airbnb, you'll be the first to be notified. So you can get really highly specific, and you can really target the companies you really want to work for, or the companies you're really interested in. So it's a really powerful tool in that sense. Next slide. And then using the job search function on LinkedIn, you can create a real wide set of alerts. So like I mentioned before, you can use your profile data, your experience, the things you've been searching for, and the roles you've applied for in the past to help you create job recommendations. So even LinkedIn can help you do a little bit of that work by not only letting you find the jobs that you know you want, but also maybe letting you know about opportunities that you might not be aware of there. And then next slide there. And then all of these job alerts are always customizable, and you can always edit these settings later on. So you can customize the way you get notified. You can customize how often you get notified, and whether that those notifications come through just the platform, or if you really want to know as soon as as soon as these opportunities appear, you can even have these be pushed to your email, so you're always on the know as far as when these new openings to apply for are available. Next slide. I also want to talk a little bit about Premium, because Premium can really help you in this process of finding opportunities and applying for jobs. So there's a lot of benefits to Premium. And when it comes to jobs, one of the really powerful ways Premium can kind of amp up your job search is through the ability to search and find people outside your network. So of course, LinkedIn is a very network-based platform, really focused on your connections and finding people that are in your vicinity through your social graph or your professional graph. But using things like Premium, you can actually amplify that a little bit and look at alumni that maybe are second-degree connections or third-degree connections. You can specifically find alumni in certain cities, and you can use this to kind of really target individuals that might be that kind of bridge between you and an opportunity. And because of Premium and its kind of advanced ability to let you contact people, you can often send people messages that you would otherwise not have the access to through things like InMail, and be able to spark conversations you otherwise wouldn't be able to kind of start. And then there's also a little bit of a separate search component to jobs in Premium. So if you go to your Premium benefits or My Premium, you'll be able to see things like who's viewed your profile, insights on your profile data, and also job kind of recommendations that Premium is able to generate for you. And there's a bunch of other real great benefits to Premium. I actually used to work at Premium during my internship, so I could talk a little bit at length on that. But there's great things like LinkedIn Learning is now a part of Premium, which if you're familiar with lynda.com, that's now kind of bundled in under that Premium offering. So not only do you get all these supercharged communications, job opening and kind of accessibility on the platform, but you also get access to resources and educational experience. Another thing I want to talk about, sorry, next slide, is the power of referrals or the importance of referrals. So one important piece of data to keep in mind is that 85% of jobs get filled with a referral. And just a personal note on that, my internship at LinkedIn was through a referral. I was referred through a previous intern. I was then contacted through a recruiter on the platform, and that's actually how I ended up here. And a year or two later, I'm now a full-time employee at LinkedIn. So I definitely know firsthand the power of a referral. And it doesn't mean you can't land a job without one, and shouldn't feel discouraged if you don't have a referral. But I'm just letting you know, referrals definitely do help amplify your ability to get a job. So if you go to that next slide. You can actually ask to get a referral through the platform. When you're applying to a job, you may be able to see a button that lets you ask for a referral, and you can hit the asked for referral if you have someone in your network that works at the company. You usually want to make sure you have a personal relationship with this individual. You don't want to have that first conversation be the one where you're asking for a referral. So definitely plan out this request and make sure, when you're asking someone for a referral, you're kind of asking them to vouch for you. So you want to make sure they feel comfortable doing so, and that you're not overextending what they know about you and what they're able to speak about you too. Next slide. And finally, kind of just as a general tip, if you do get a referral, make sure you keep people updated on your progress. I'm actually, working with a few people that are going through the referral process right now, and I love hearing kind of how they're progressing and how they're doing, because once someone's invested in your success and once someone's invested in your process, they want to know how you're doing, and it's a great opportunity to build relationships, but also to help yourself ask questions, get insights into an interview process, and just lets the person that referred you know that you weren't just interested in the referral in that moment, but you're actually interested in kind of building and facilitating this relationship with them to be something that's a little bit more ongoing. And even if the job doesn't work out in that moment, you now have this stronger relationship that might be beneficial to you down the road. So definitely just don't end it at the referral or end it at the job application. Keep these relationships going and keep building on them as much as you can. And then next slide. Yeah, and so that's the presentation for the most part. We really hope you found all of this valuable. So to summarize, there's a few key takeaways I want to mention. So really create a comprehensive LinkedIn profile, start sharing your work, get yourself noticed and get yourself out there. Explore your interests and find mentors, find groups, find opportunities to learn. Really use the platform to build yourself up, but then also to build out your network. Use that network to find other professionals, start those conversations, maybe build up to things like referrals, or just coffee chats, or just getting to know a little bit more about the ins and outs of the field. And then when you're ready, you can start using things like job alerts to start targeting the opportunities you're interested in, and really focusing on those preferences that are important to you and key to you. And thank you so much to Christine and Vicky for presenting with me. And I guess we'll open it up to questions now.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much. I feel like everyone's brains just like absorbed all that information. Going to take time to process it, but I learned so much as well. All right, we've got a healthy dose of questions. Okay, let's see. All right, from Nick. Nick had asked, should we SEO optimize our about section, our about story?
Yeah, so I think in the about section, so basically think about this. Anything on your LinkedIn profile could be searchable, whether it's on Google if you turn on those like public settings, or within like the LinkedIn recruiter tool. So it does help to use similar language for the jobs that you are trying to apply for, especially if you're a career shifter, to try to craft that in your about section and your experiences so that it relates to the role that you're applying for. Now, with that being said, I would not try to like over optimized to the point where when you read the about, it feels like a bot wrote it, or like it's inauthentic because you're just throwing buzzwords in there. People still do read it, so you want to make sure that you kind of balance out the terminology that strikes the balance, but then also an authentic voice of who you are.
Got it. So a healthy dose of balance. Oh yes, go ahead.
And maybe to add into that, if you're finding yourself, cramming your about section with keywords, remember you do have other sections of the platform, like your skills, that you can use to kind of boost up those keywords, those key tools that might help you get noticed.
Got it. Good to know. Okay, from Simi, if you're a self-taught designer, should you include that in your profile, or does that make recruiters think twice about your skills?
Yeah, so I can start off with that one. So the thing is, when you break into the UX industry, there's a lot of different paths out there. If you're self-taught, maybe you don't have education to show that, but you might have projects that you're doing, like contracts, or just like things that you're doing with volunteers and nonprofits. So I would definitely highlight those things in your experience. And at the end of the day, experience is going to weigh out a lot more anyway, especially if you are trying to compete in a market like this. So I would emphasize on trying to build that out. If you want to say that you're self-taught, I think that's totally fine in your about experience, but it's entirely up to you in terms of like how you want to represent that. I don't think recruiters would look down upon it if you didn't come from like a name brand school at that point.
Yeah, +1 on that. I think especially in the design industry, portfolio is really like something that represent you. So as long as make sure you feature your portfolio and feature your experience and project, I think that can really help you a lot. I don't think like education is a deal breaker. So not worry about like whether you have an education in design or not.
Yeah, I would +1 that as well. No offense to any alumni from my school, but I don't come from a really big name brand school, and it's never kind of held me back or anything like that. It really is focused on your experience in your portfolio.
Got it. Okay, got another one from Nick. should you include partially completed higher education in your profile or leave that out completely?
Yeah, so with education, again, there's no right or wrong answer. So if you didn't finish the degree, I've seen people put like that they've taken courses and actually just leave the end date open-ended or don't even show that in their education because they don't want to be guessed upon how old they are or something like that. So you can do it that way. The other thing is it comes down to the education. Is it relevant for the job that you're trying to get? So for example, like on my profile, I probably had a bunch of study abroad stuff that I did when I was in business school, but it's probably time for me to take that down because it's not really relevant to what I'm doing in the UX field. So I would think about it from that standpoint to determine whether or not you want to put that education on your profile.
Yeah, I can maybe add to that as well, because on my profile I actually do have some incomplete education from the first part of my university education. I did at a different school in a different degree, and it's never been an issue. I think for me, I just like the fact that it gives a more complete picture of my background and my education. It has come up in recruiter calls and things like that, but it's never been a negative or something that's been a red flag for me.
Okay, so it sounds like it would be up to that person building the profile, but the key thing is to make sure that it's relevant and up to date. Okay, from Bachi, do keywords in the about section appear on recruiter searches? So like an add on top of like how to craft that good about me section.
Vicky, do you know since you work in the
Well,
job?
I'm not quite sure about like the keywords in about, but I know a lot of recruiters, they use skill search. So they use skills to filter or to search for like applicants or candidates who have a certain skills. So I think that is the area you probably want to add all the skills you have to on your profile, so that your profile would appear in the search result. So that's what I know, but I'm not quite sure about whether we can really grab your keywords from your about session in the search.
Okay. From the same person, from Bache, how do you usually approach, or what is your recommendation for how to approach a hiring manager on LinkedIn if you see a job posting that you feel really qualified for? It sounds like they're hesitant about directly mentioning the job or the role, but they're worried about the position being filled by the time that you build that relationship with that hiring manager. Like, how would you balance that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I do get a lot of messages on LinkedIn, sometimes from people that I don't know, some people that I've like loosely met. The key about networking though is to start as early as possible. So like if you're a student and you're about to graduate in your senior year, just start now, even if you don't have your portfolio ready, because like your question said, Ying, it does take a while to foster those relationships. And sometimes that hiring manager might not have a role for them on that team at that time, but things come around. So maybe a year from now, 6 months from now, there might be something that opens up and then they can be reminded again of that individual. Now, with that being said, if you haven't started early and you're just kind of reaching out cold, my recommendation is that when you are sending a message, try to be authentic around yourself and just, and don't be too pushy. I sometimes get messages where people are like, oh, this is everything about me. This is why I'm qualified. Here's my portfolio. Here's my resume. Will you refer me? And I'm like, I haven't even met you. So it's kind of hard for somebody to refer someone that they haven't met. I would suggest starting it off first with like a conversation and trying to be like, oh, I'm really interested in your background. I just want to learn more about like LinkedIn and what it's all about. Would you have time to answer some of my questions through a message or like a coffee chat or something like that? And I'm way more likely to engage with somebody who writes a message like that and just kind of give them my perspectives on the role and whether or not I think they'd be a good fit versus just cold referrals. So I think that's probably the best way to do it. The other thing to think about is that don't put all your eggs in one basket. So with one hiring manager, try reaching out to a couple of other people at the company. Recruiters, people sometimes think are really great to reach out to, but they're super busy. So I would encourage you to think about reaching out to designers, researchers, other people, even engineers sometimes have friends who are designers who might be able to help get you that referral just to get your foot in the door.
answer. Thank you. We had a similar question asked by two people, Rashmi and Jake. How would you go about finding volunteering opportunities in the UX field?
Well, I can maybe start the ball on this one. So I think it can depend on your situation. So if you're still a student, I think it's actually not too difficult to kind of find those opportunities. I think the best way to start that is by looking at your student clubs, any organizations, see if there's any classes that are kind of focused around this project-based work, and see if you can kind of jump off from there. I found that LinkedIn does have quite a few volunteer options on it. The thing to keep in mind with that is they'll often be fairly under-resourced, so they might not have the most visibility. But if you're seeking for that, I think the best way to start it is look locally, look around you, and then kind of work your way through the platform.
Yeah, I also know there are a lot of nonprofit organizations that they need a lot of design help to build their website, or help with their marketing materials. I think definitely look for maybe local nonprofit organizations. Maybe there are a lot of opportunities over there.
Yeah, and then the last thing I would talk about in terms of building experience is that it's important to find experience too that isn't always with designers. You want to work with engineers or business people as well. So if you can do hackathons, that's a really great way. Most of the time it's mostly engineers, but you can learn a lot about working with them in terms of their process. And besides nonprofits, sometimes you can find volunteer opportunities through startups who might have just gotten their initial round of funding, or are just kind of in that incubator stage. So like things like 500 Startups, Y Combinator, they have some job posts that you can kind of look at for volunteer opportunities. I think Code for America is a really great civic organization that does a lot of volunteer projects that you can do as well. And there's a bunch of COVID task forces that are going on right now that you can also join.
Got it. Okay, from Raymond and Brandon, they had similar questions about when to share their portfolios with recruiters and managers. Is it okay to show it if there's only one project in there, or should I wait until I have a few more? What's that balance for the portfolio amount?
Yeah, I think for that, it just kind of depends what your goal is. So I think if you're just trying to network and just build the relationship, I think it's okay if your portfolio is unfinished, as long as you set that expectation with the person that you're talking to. When it comes to if you're actually considering applying at that point, then it's definitely more important for your portfolio to be ready, because then you're going to go through that screening process with recruiters or the hiring team, and you kind of have that one shot to make it through. Now, with that being said, I have hired somebody on my team who only had one project done for a contract role. But the reason why, she managed to get through in that process with one project was because that one project was really strong, and she had really good, exceptional storytelling. And then also she had fostered a relationship with me much earlier. So it was easy for me to kind of get her through the door. But with that one project, that's all she needed for the interview process to land that contractor role. Because that was the case study that she just presented. So with that being in mind, there's always exceptions to the rule, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would actually echo this a lot, just because as someone who just graduated and with a lot of friends still in university, I think sometimes students especially can kind of be precious with their portfolio and not want to share it until they feel like it's perfect and it's exactly what they want it to be. And I think that can be a bit of a trap, because if you're often waiting for that perfect moment for your portfolio to be ready, you can often miss a lot of opportunities to get yourself out there and apply for experiences that you might very well be ready for, but you're just not putting yourself out there. So I think, you definitely want to make sure you feel ready and you have solid work, but you don't want to necessarily wait till you have X number of projects or the perfect portfolio to start putting yourself out there.
Good point. Thank you. Okay, we have a question from Christelle. For the job postings with recruiter contact info, should we reach out to that recruiter before applying? Any tips on that?
Oh, go ahead, Vicky. Great.
No, I think if it's posted by a recruiter, it's because like for recruiters, it's most likely like he or she would manage like a lot of jobs. So reaching out to the recruiter before apply, I'm not sure whether it would increase your success rate, because it's more likely that recruiter would just respond asking you to apply for this job. But if it's from a hiring manager, I think it probably make more sense to reach out directly, because he or she is like directly hiring for this role for his or her team. So I would say like it's more likely you can start the conversation with the hiring manager, and that might be a better might be a better situation to reach out personally. Yeah, that's kind of like what my personal experience does. Because like for hiring managers, most likely if hiring manager posts the job directly, or like showing the signal that they are hiring for a certain role on their profile, it means that they are open for the conversation. They want to get message and start conversation with candidates. So yeah, I think in that situation, it's you probably get more success rate by reaching out to them.
Yeah, and I think one thing to keep in mind too is as you're reaching out to recruiters, they're probably getting hundreds of messages as well for that same job posting. So if you do reach out to them, you need to make sure you really craft your message in a unique way that it's not generic. Recruiters can tell if you're using the same message, copying and pasting it for several companies. So make sure that it's almost like cover letter of sorts, right? You really want to keep it personalized and demonstrate like how you're specifically special for that role if you are reaching out to that recruiter. Now, with that being said, like to Vicky's point, I feel like, recruiters definitely want to help, but they might be a little busy. So don't you put all your eggs in one basket again. You can reach out to them, but also try to find other people to network with who might help you get a referral into that company that you want to apply for.
Got it. Okay, from Felicia, I think this one's focused on the open to work feature of LinkedIn. Is there a way to select open to work and also services provided? They currently have open to work, but do not see the services provided option on their profile. And so for additional context, they're currently looking for a full-time position and freelance opportunities.
Yeah.
So oh, go ahead, Brendan.
Sorry, go ahead, Christine. No, you probably actually know a little bit more about this than I do at the moment.
Yeah, I was just going to say, actually, I'm not 100% sure because we just ran that feature last year. Mm-hmm. So we can double check with the team. But my recommendation is if it's not both, I would do the open to, because within the open to, there's a lot more options for you to dedicate if you're open to full-time, part-time, contract, all that stuff, which covers the bucket for freelance. So I feel like that's a broader bucket than just saying that you're just providing services for freelance.
Yeah, and my knowledge of this might be a little bit outdated because it's been a little bit over a year since I last worked with that team. But I believe right now, open to providing services is limited to certain professions. So if maybe you're not in one of those professions that is currently ramped to be open on the platform, so that might be part of it. But yeah, we can definitely investigate that a little bit more.
Got it. Okay, bringing it back to another question from Bache. How often should you post on LinkedIn? Is there like a recommended frequency to it?
I don't think there's a magic number. Yeah, there's some people who post daily and that works really well for them. I post maybe like a couple of times a month, maybe once a week kind of thing. But for me, it's a lot more about the type of engagement that I'm trying to capture and the name brand that I'm trying to develop for myself on LinkedIn versus just purely trying to get attention on the platform. So I think if you think about what is your goal on LinkedIn and how you want to get recognized for it, then your posting strategy can work to partner up with that. So if you're looking for a job, maybe I wouldn't post the fact that you're looking for a job on a daily basis. That might get old, but you can try to think about changing up your content strategy. Maybe you post your portfolio one week, and then maybe you post like a work in progress project that you're trying to do, or post that you're trying to do an event. So try to change up the content strategy too, to see what the engagement that you're getting. And then I would kind of use that and analyze and to determine like how you want to post more frequently.
Yeah, and also you don't have to have the pressure like, oh, I have to like generate original post all the time. Like when you see something, a good article, you can share on LinkedIn or make comments on some other people's posts, right? There are multiple ways for you to engage with your network. You don't have to like have the pressure to always think of something to post. If you don't have much, you can find other ways to engage.
Yeah, that's a great point. It sounds like there's different levels of like either low effort to like medium to higher impact or higher effort of posting content, whether it's resharing an article or maybe a cool video that helped you, or you take that additional time to write up something like a case study or a particular problem that you solved, and then you can share that. So a variety of that. Okay, we're at our last question. This one's a fun one from Miriam. What is your presentation font? People in the chat were going like, wow, it's so legible and so clean and crisp. They're trying to guess.
I think people got it in the chat. I was following it. It's Century Gothic, so.
Oh,
yep.
Got it. Oh, I think it was, yes, Lois, you got it. Brownie points for you. Awesome. Well, okay, everybody, let's give it up to our speakers, Christine, Vicky, and Brandon. Let's see if we can put a little reaction on your, there you go. Thank you so much for sharing your awesome knowledge with us. Definitely learned a lot. Okay, we're winding down on our event, but before we go, we have two important things we got to do, our signature selfie, and then I'm going to give you some information on our next event. So, all right, I'm not as familiar with like, how do we do our selfie? Winona?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll be taking over from here. So everyone, we've come to our point for our signature selfie. If you can please turn on your cameras, we want to see your faces. And we have multiple screens of people. So I'll be dictating. And if you can just, hold a pose, smile, as much as you can. And I'll do this now, okay? I'll be taking the first page and page 1 is done. Okay, now I'm moving to the second page. Page 2 is now done. Okay, I'm moving to the third page. Page 3 is done now. And the remaining pages are full of blacks, but I'll keep taking them. Page 4 is done now. And the last page is done also. Thank you so much, everyone. Passing it back to you.
Thank you. All right, so if you did not get enough LinkedIn knowledge today, I have good news. We are continuing this topic next month on Wednesday, February 17th, where Christine will be returning and she'll be bringing along Katie Jaquez and Antonio Song to discuss sustainable and effective networking on LinkedIn. So make sure to follow ADPList on Twitter and LinkedIn so you'll get the latest updates. Thank you so much for coming. Be happy, be safe, and we'll see you next time around.
Christine, Brandon, and Vicky, if you guys can stay for a short break after the session.